Mr President, we all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on the community and the economy. Jobs have been lost, income slashed, businesses have shut down and, sadly, many are not expected to reopen. We all had to lock down in isolation from our family, friends and communities. It has had untold social and mental health wellbeing impacts. The hospitality industry in particular has been hard hit. From midday on March 23rd, pubs, clubs as well as restaurants, cafes, small bars had to close their doors at short notice, throwing the lives and livelihoods of tens of thousands of Australians into turmoil. However, for some Australians, the closure of pubs and clubs has helped them more than they ever would have thought. Australia has the highest gambling losses per head of population in the world, and New South Wales maintains its unenviable position as a state experiencing the highest amount of gambling harm in Australia. The poker machines currently silenced by the COVID-19 pandemic have kept $34.2 million in the pockets of Australians every single day during the pandemic lockdown. In Western Sydney alone, around $450 million has been kept in the pockets of the community. Furthermore, the Alliance for Gambling Reform says that more than $1 billion has been saved in poker machine losses. That's money that will circulate around our economy, paying for goods and services. Those billions of dollars have come from people and families causing problems from financial stress and ruin, evictions and homelessness, through to domestic violence and mental health issues, and at times deaths by suicide related to gambling. Some may argue that gaming has simply shifted from pubs and clubs to online platforms. No doubt some of this has happened, but the evidence is that that hasn't been that significant, with analytical firm Alphabet estimating online gambling has increased by 142% during a pandemic lockdown. Tim Costello, founding board member of the Alliance for Gambling Reform, sets the challenge. He says, quote, "State governments now have an opportunity to strengthen our communities and rebuild sustainable, thriving clubs and businesses by reducing their reliance on poker machines to survive. We should not underestimate the opportunity before us nor feel restricted by the way things have been done before." End of quote. The expectation that pubs and clubs will just simply reopen their gaming rooms has been met with despair and alarm by those who deal with the damage gambling can cause. NCOS CEO Joanna Quilty points out that poker machines do their worst damage in vulnerable communities, causing sometimes irreversible harm to families and individuals. The Reverend Keith Garner, CEO of the Wesley Mission, warned today that his organisation was bracing for a wave of demand for gambling counselling services in the state as the machines are turned back on. Mr President, how does one cost social harm? This is a difficult question. How many happy gamblers does it take to make up for the litany of problems associated with gambling addictions? Social harm is notoriously difficult to pin down and cost. That makes it difficult to argue and easier to just dismiss. Australia was not a highly ranked gambling nation in the 1970s. There was betting at the racetracks, at government-owned TABs and on lotteries. But by the year 2000, there were 200,000 poker machines across Australia, which is about 18% of the machines on the planet. To this day, Australia is the highest gambling nation in the world per head of population, and that's just in one generation we've achieved that. Mr President, I return to the opportunity that the COVID-19 pandemic provides us to recalibrate our love affair with poker machines and change many lives for the better. I join calls by others concerned about harm reduction and community health and well-being, as well as those in this place, for the New South Wales Government to ease gently the restrictions on gaming machines, not to rush in. To take this opportunity to reduce the number of those harmful machines through buybacks and reducing entitlements, to consider appropriate densities based on local government areas, to deploy smart, real-time technology and data to assist problem gamblers away from their addiction. The government should also be prepared to increase counselling resources as the gaming machines awaken from their forced slumber. Mr President, there are several silver linings that can emerge from this pandemic. Broadening our workplace culture outside the traditional office space, staggering travel times, increasing cycling and exercise, appreciation of our open spaces and parklands were all things that we've learnt in this pandemic. A new appreciation of our social liberties, which were often taken for granted. A renewed appreciation of our families and our friends and even strangers. And especially our too often isolated, lonely, elderly community members have become much more appreciated out of this pandemic. Let's make another silver lining a concerted effort after 9 weeks of gaming machine cold turkey to support the way out for those who have now escaped a destructive gambling habit. Not a return to the business as usual of gambling harm, gambling losses, financial ruin, family breakdowns, domestic violence and even death.